All right, everybody, welcome to Buck AF. Buck AF. That's are you Buck as well? You know what the F stands for. How you guys doing tonight? Welcome to the show. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, do we have a show? I'm liable to get fired tonight. Let's all have fun. Here's the deal we're going to talk about. This is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff, but we're going to talk some football. We're going to talk about the Dolphins game. We're going to talk about the Eagles game, and we're going to unpack the whole John Gruden conversation. We're going to go ahead and have this conversation. You know how everybody always says we need to have an honest conversation about this stuff. Well, let's have an honest conversation. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's bring it out. Let's get into all of that stuff. All right, let's go there. Let's go there. Let's have this conversation. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your opinions. I want to talk first of all about the Dolphins game. How about that? That was a beautiful game. I mean, despite the fact that that I cannot believe Shannon Sharp says Tom Brady deserves a C+ for his performance, which was almost a perfect quarterback rating, 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. First time in his career he's ever thrown for more than 400 yards and had 5 touchdowns. But guys, this is Tom Brady is right now he's having his best year ever. Let that wash over you. Just soak that up. Tom Brady's having his best year ever. He's well over 200 passing attempts with 0 interceptions. That's a Bucs record. The Bucs are shattering every record that offensively that they've had, including last year. Guys, this is going to be an interesting little stretch we have here because the Bucs are playing the teams that are not quite as good. They started off against some tough teams and they made it through it. They're 4-1. The Bucs are 4-1, folks. We have a lot to be excited about. Hello to those of you in chat. Hello, Christopher Cole, Barry Gould, Ryan Graham, Joyce Rivera, and Donna Sanai. How's everybody doing tonight? Everybody get ready. Buckle up. This show is going to be a little bit different. I want to prepare you. This is not going to be a normal show. I'm going to cut loose on some stuff, and we're going to have fun. So get ready. Get ready. The first person that I want to bring in here for the festivities. By the way, we're also going to be joined by Johnny from All About the Birds, a Philadelphia Eagles show and podcast. I want you guys to get ready and welcome the enemy in. We're gonna have we're gonna have a conversation with enemies. I don't know what you want to call them. But first of all, I want to bring in my partner in crime on the post game show, the only man with a cross-dressing dog.
Dave, hey, you can't prove that.
Dave White Scarver, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Rick. How are you?
I am doing good. Everybody get ready for a fun show. But first thing I want to talk about, Dave, is the Dolphins game. Man, what a game. Holy cow. The Bucs looked freaking fantastic. Everybody who's complaining about the defense, y'all are crazy. I keep hearing, oh man, they're on a pace to give up more yards than anybody in history. I don't see yardage on the scoreboard. They're not giving up the most points even in the NFL this year, even close. So if y'all care that much about yards, I don't know. We're I don't know.
I mean, you have a championship offense. That's no question about that. And you have a championship or close to a championship defense when they're healthy. So if your offense can outscore people while you get your defense healthy, that's a thumbs up. And they're 4-1 and heading up to Philadelphia.
Yep.
So it's all systems go, it looks like to me.
Yeah, and their players coming back, and or at least maybe coming back. I guess Gronk is questionable. Hopefully we will. And I want to talk about this guy, by the way, guys. My thought process is I would actually rather have Gronk sit out this game. I'd actually rather, if God forbid, worst comes to worst, take a loss in this game and make sure Gronk is healthy before he comes back. It's a short week. Let's keep him. Then they need to have an additional 10 days to get healthy.
And O.J. Howard's been blocking so well.
Yeah. OJ Howard. Ugh. OJ Howard. That. Yeah. Anyway. Everybody, I keep hearing, and I know we had an article on Bucs Report that said trade OJ Howard now. And how do you trade a guy who keeps exposing himself like that? And I don't mean exposing himself in a bad way, Junkard. I don't mean that. I don't mean anything that is, I think he shows that that guy knows how to completely miss a block. And that's how Brady actually injured his hand, was on a play that OJ Howard just completely whiffed on a block. I don't know. I guess we'll see where that goes. But I think I would rather see Brady. No, not Brady. I would rather see Gronk sit this one out and be healthy 10 days later. But it's a short week. Let's see what happens. The Bucs seem to struggle on the short week. Everybody be ready. Thursday games. Johnny Dean and I have talked about this extensively. Thursday games, especially on the road, just don't count it. In your brain, just don't count it, okay? If they win, if they lose, set it aside. It's nothing like a regular week. It's very difficult to win on the road on a Thursday. So it's everybody just be ready for the Bucs to not look like the Bucs. And I guarantee you, all you guys are going to flip out. Everybody's going to have a little coronary and freak out on us and say, oh my gosh, the Bucs look terrible. Oh boy. I know that's what's going to happen. And guys, I want to start off with a segment here that we started last week. And I want to prepare you for it now. It's going to be a lot of fun. Get ready. But all of you guys who next week, if the Bucs struggle, if the Bucs are having a hard time on a Thursday night, and you're going to go online and start to rip them a new one, guys. You are so awesome. That's right, guys. It is time for You Are So Awesome. First of all, Bucs fans, especially Rel Surlis. I don't know what your name is. You got a weird name, Rel. I am the only one, or am I the only one that feels like Mike Evans is not playing to his potential this season? Yes. If you're that impatient that you can't wait until the second half before you start posting stuff like that, yes, you're the only one, Rel. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about you, Rel. I don't know. I don't even know if you're male, female. I don't know, Rel. But I will tell you, Rel, simmer down and wait for an entire football game to be over. He caught 2 touchdown passes. Okay, so stop it, Rel. Rel, there's only one thing I have to say about you. You are so awesome. Gary Nullbuck Roman. Maybe JPP should stick to pass rushing. He sucks at coverage. Well, seeing as how he's an edge rusher, that would make sense. He's not a cornerback. He's not a safety. All right? So stop thinking that they expect him to be great in pass coverage. Okay? Does he drop back sometimes to try to help out? Yes. But that's not his job in general. They don't expect him to be good in pass coverage. And you're so brilliant, Gary Nullbuck Roman, that you came up with this gem. Get to see Winston throw a TD to go up 33-22 over Washington. Nullbuck. Why do you even have the name Buck in your name? What is your problem, dude? What's your problem to post something like that? You are so awesome. Now, Jacob Johnson says, we have the worst pass defense in the league, and it isn't even close. With yardage, you're correct. Now, I get it. A lot of you play fantasy football. I get it. That's your thing. Yardage. Oh boy, they're giving up yards. See, the way I watch football is I actually pay attention to points. That's how it's worked for me since I was a little kid, since I was a wee little lad, wee little buck. Okay. Points are what matters, not yards. So if you care that much about how many yards the other team gets, we're watching different football. I can tell you Bruce Arians is not on the other side going, this would be a good year, but we're giving up too many yards. We're 4-1. We gave up 17 points 2 weeks in a row, negative rushing yard. One negative rushing yard at one point. I don't know what. Anyway, you just said that the defense is bad. Come on. Now, to the idiots who still don't think that Lamar Jackson is a good quarterback. If you watched a Monday night's game, Lamar still not a pocket passer. And look at Jarrett Ozar, this Mensa member. He's not a passer. Did you watch the game at all? Did you watch the game at all? Okay, you're awesome for thinking something that stupid. It takes talent to go there and to be that far off. Lamar Jackson looked fantastic. Led them on a comeback that is one to remember. And if you are a Ravens fan, it was a night for you to remember and to enjoy. Next up, Bradley Campbell. Bradley Campbell in the Tampa Bay Bucs fans group. We should sign Gruden. Sign John Gruden. Yeah. You just can't fix stupid. You can't fix stupid. And speaking of not being able to fix stupid, the sort of the top of the food chain this week, when it comes to the most awesome of all of the awesome people, guys, to the National Football League. To the National Football League.
You are so awesome.
Thank you, National Football League, for taking a stand this week, for taking a stand morally, because of the moral fiber, the moral integrity that you have as you put a team in Las Vegas, Sin City, okay? As you put a team in a city where gambling is everywhere, and they're going to start allowing it in stadiums, where you put a team in a stadium where outside in the parking lot, they're passing out flyers for prostitutes. And there's topless showgirls all over the place in Vegas. It's okay, boss. I can post those things because those pictures, I took them. They're cleared copyright. All right. But you know what's really bad? Prostitutes, no. The showgirls, no. All of that's fine. Sin City, no. That's all. You know what's bad? That's bad. That's bad. We got to get rid of that. Now, I don't have a problem with saying that we need to get rid of John Gruden. Okay, I don't have a problem with that, and we're going to unpack all of that shortly. What I have a problem with is the hypocrisy. What I have a problem with is the fact that we judge things in such weird, unequal ways. I mean, what are we going to do in the Bucs lobby right now with this statue? Are we going to get rid of everything that's bad? Are we going to start to go back through everybody's emails and everything everybody said? And if they're bad, if somebody said something bad, we're going to take them out of the Ring of Honor. Uh-oh. That's a problem. That's a problem. And if Warren Sapp is a problem, if what you read in John Gruden's emails is a problem, what would you think about a guy who said this? Now, if you're a black athlete, you're a spoiled little brat for trying to use your platform and your stature to give those a voice who don't have one. You're spitting in the face of those who fought for us, you bastards. What would you do with that guy? You'd get rid of him, right? You get rid of him, right? I mean, like, compared to what Gruden said, you'd get rid of that guy, right? Oh, no. You know what you would do with that guy? You'd give him a freaking halftime show. You would give him a halftime show. Yeah, that's Eminem. Eminem said that. That's what you do. You celebrate him. Why? Well, it's not John Gruden. He didn't say anything about the boss, Roger Goodell. Right? Dr. Dre. I can't even read this, but you're talking about John Gruden being misogynistic in some of the things that were said between him and Bruce Allen. I'm not saying it's wrong to get rid of John Gruden. I'm saying, come on, guys. Snoop Dogg, for the N-word, who be talking loud and holding his talking, he better lay low. For the that said, I shot some up out of my, I can't even read this. Now she's sick. She better lay low. For the N-words who claim to be, or who be claiming my hood and really ain't from my gang, better lay low. Apparently, that's okay. That's all okay. NFL.
You are so awesome.
All I'm asking for, NFL, is be consistent. Stop and think and understand you're unpacking something. You'd better be ready for what's on the other side. You'd better be ready, because all those owners meetings that you guys have in those nice tropical locations, when you all get together and you're sipping your drinks and you're getting a little tipsy, what do you say when no one's looking? What do you say in your emails to each other? Billionaires better be ready. If you think you're immune, the organization is bigger than you. If you don't believe me, ask that Clippers owner. Get ready. Do you think Jerry Jones hasn't said anything in his life? What do you think about Robert Kraft? Remember what happened with Robert Kraft. We talked about sex trafficking and all of that. Stop and think, guys. Think about what you're unpacking. Get ready, because there's some stuff coming. All right. That's it for this week's You Are So Awesome. And I am aghast at the NFL's let's call it inconsistent ways. I think the fact that the NFL, I think if this all gets released, if they let this get released, if they let all this information out, get ready. Get ready. Because over the last 10 years, last 7-10 years, be honest with yourself, everybody. Everyone here in chat, all of you in chat, all of you out there, ask yourself this question. Have you said anything to anybody that you would not want going public? Have you said anything in a private conversation that you would not want going public? And if you say, no, I've never said anything in a private conversation, really? Your private conversations are exactly the same as public? You must be a hoot of a friend to have. I mean, come on, man. Everybody, stop and ask yourself, what happens if you're held accountable for today's standards for something you said a decade ago? No, I'm not excusing Gruden. I'm not excusing Gruden. I'm not excusing John Gruden. I am saying we'd better stop and think about this before we unpack it. We'd better be honest with ourselves. We'd better all look at ourselves. Everybody out there who's got your pitchfork and your torch in your hand and you're ready to go, you better stop and think, what have you said when you've had a drink or two too many? What have you said when you're popping off to your friends? What have you said? I don't know. Now, Dave, you've known me since first grade. I promise you at some point I've said something that would get me canceled. And
no comment.
So I guess for that, Dave, I apologize now. I don't know. I'm sure when we were, 12, I said something stupid. I'm sorry now. Please don't.
Well, it was an email back then, so I guess
Yeah.
we're good.
Now, having said all of that, okay, having said all of that about John Gruden, and I don't want to sound like I'm defending John Gruden. Let me be clear. 10 years ago, I knew better than to put some of that crap that he said in writing. What in the heck? You're always more careful with what you say in writing. And for him to be firing that stuff off and the other stuff that we hear rumors about that might be coming out about the cheerleaders or about whatever, what in the world are they leaving a paper trail for? I mean, we've got enough politicians around to teach us, don't do that. Don't do that. Not on the company server. Get your own server. Okay.
Well, I have to disagree with one thing you said, Rick.
What's that?
You said the NFL is inconsistent. I disagree. I think they're completely consistent. It's all about the green. Yeah. And if they think that they can make money or they're going to keep the advertising going and not have an issue, they will make a quote unquote stand. I don't think it's for moral reasons, quite frankly. I think it's basically because they want to keep the money train going.
Yeah. Well, what happens when other emails or other situations and things about other owners and such start coming out? Then what do you do? I mean, it's the owners. That's a little bit, that's a little scary. You're 100% correct. Dave, you're the one who pointed out to me at one point in life, follow the money trail. Okay. And that is exactly, this is the classic prime example of why this went down. It was better financially for the NFL and the Raiders to get rid of John Gruden. That's why this happened. Stop fooling yourself and saying it was for moral reasons. Stop fooling yourself and saying it was because what John Gruden said was bad. That's not why they got rid of him. If it was better financially to keep him, they would have found a way to forgive him and say, well, John, we'll get behind it. You don't believe me? Look at the players. Look at some of the players who they've given second chances to. Shoot, man.
Josh Gordon, was he on his 18th chance?
Yeah. And Josh Gordon, Michael Vick. They gave him another chance. Now, the question is John Gruden done for good? That's what I want to ask you guys. In chat. I want to ask yourself, I want you guys in chat to tell me, is John Gruden done forever? Is he done for good? I mean, if they're pulling him down from the Ring of Honor, the Bucs are pulling him down from the Ring of Honor. I'm guessing the statue goes next. That's in the lobby of One Buck Place. What do you do with Warren Sapp?
Well, Tony Dungy's been catching heat for his responses regarding John Gruden from Sunday night.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, when Tony Dungy starts catching heat for moral issues, something's wrong. I mean, we're not perfect. None of us are perfect. Okay. I mean, I promise you, I don't come close to that. But this is something that I think we all need to be honest about. We always say, let's have an open and honest conversation about race, or let's have an open and honest conversation about these issues. And, you bring up something like some of the stuff I brought up tonight, and it's like, uh-oh, I know there's a line I got to walk, and you got to be very careful. But how do you have an honest conversation when you're not allowed to have an honest conversation? Because if you say something wrong, if you say something that sounds a little too much one way or the other, you can get yourself in trouble. But, and it's a fact, I'm not trying to defend Gruden. I'm certainly not trying to defend any of the asinine and idiotic things that he put in email. Definitely not trying to do that. But I'm also trying to be realistic. I'm trying to be honest. And this is where I'm going to get myself in trouble, is I'm being honest, and I'm flat out telling you guys, over the last 7 years, have I said anything that would get me canceled? Oh, yeah, I'm sure. To my buddies, to my friends, you crack jokes. No, I'm not I'm not telling you I'm cracking jokes that are any particular one kind of joke or anything. No, guys. So don't try and hold my feet to the fire about that and say, Rick said he was telling jokes about this or that. No. I am telling you in private conversations, I have said things that, yeah, would get me canceled. Because you say things to buddies and say things to friends you don't necessarily mean. Now, did that happen? Because let me tell you something. Gruden thought this was a private conversation. What about your private conversations, guys?
Well, you mentioned Donald Sterling earlier, and it was, I believe it was a private video with his girlfriend at the time that brought him down. I mean, there was lots of other things that were lurking out there and things that he had said. But at the end of the day, it was a private video that brought him down. And so that also begs the question that, is there anything private anymore in all seriousness? Between Twitter, all the social medias, everybody's got a phone. Now they've got those really swell cameras where you can do Hollywood quality videos with. So there is no public and private. There's no private anymore.
I want to find the person, though, who has never said anything that is wrong, that is knowingly wrong, that you knew when you said it was wrong. You weren't even meaning it seriously. You weren't even literally meaning it. You were popping off. All right, guys. Who has not made a comment about some part of a girl to a buddy? Who has not made some comment about something about a girl that is not misogynistic? Who hasn't had some girl walk by and you make a comment that right now, if you put it on CNN, you put it on Fox News, you put it on, all over ESPN, and then people like Shannon Sharp are going to come out, Keyshawn Johnson, are they going to come out and say what? Keyshawn Johnson saying, I think Gruden's been fake. Like that dude's been a real dude. Like that guy's the epitome of being a stand-up kind of guy. How many people would line up to talk bad about him? Like Warren Sapp being one. There's another one you can line him up against. Okay? There are so many imperfect people, like maybe all of them. Punishment is easier than persuasion. When somebody says something wrong, when somebody does something wrong, the first thing you do is punish them because it's easier than persuading them. That's the terrifying thing behind all of this. Now, guys, let's do this. Let's shelve this for a minute. Because this heavy talk, that's all fun and dandy, and we'll get back to it shortly. But there's something bigger. Something that's a little more important that's coming up.
American football.
It's the Eagles game. It's the Eagles game. The Eagles. I hate the freaking Eagles. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. Going back to them beating us and knocking us out of the playoffs year after year after year. But you know what we did? We've got the enemy coming in, frenemy. We're going to have a good time talking a little bit about the game with Johnny. How you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing well.
Johnny, welcome. Johnny with All About the Birds, and I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for your willingness to come on and sort of come into a friendly the lair. Like I said, sort of frenemies, and I'm glad you're here. And I want to talk about the game and get your honest opinions and thoughts about the Bucs, about the game, about the Eagles, about all of it. So, want to thank you for coming on in.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And, it's always good to talk some football. I know I'm on the enemy side. We always do this with our show. We have other, teams, podcasters and or writers or anything like that on, just, get the vibe of the other team.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly.
Basically is what I'm going to kind of give, I know there's a lot of stigmatism with Philly fans and everything. And yeah, the passionate,
Kind souls that they are.
yeah. But again, that is everywhere. And if you want to say that's not everywhere, then you're lying to yourself.
Well, I don't know of too many places where they throw batteries at Santa Claus, but
Snowballs at Santa Claus. There
Snowballs.
you go. See, it was batteries at Jimmy Johnson.
I had it. My apologies.
Hey,
He's kind of Santa Claus.
still getting it wrong though. See, you can't twist the story. You can't make it sound worse than it really is. I would.
I think you made it sound worse, but it's all good.
Again, I wouldn't throw batteries at somebody. But again, I'm also not a Phillies fan, so I've had the interaction with Phillies fans in terms of the other. I like Seattle Mariners as my baseball team.
Right.
So I've had that experience where I go to a Phillies game and I get heckled and yelled at and ridiculed, and unfortunately, I say stuff back. So it's not always the right thing to do. But I digress on that.
Well, and I'm joking when I'm giving you a hard time. I'm really kind of messing around, and I'm glad that you are here. And I will tell you that the history between the Bucs and the Eagles, there's quite a history. Okay. Whether now to you as an Eagles fan, it's not as brutal. Now we shut down the vet. We shut down the vet.
But also opened up the link. You open up the link with a loss too the next year. So
but having said that, you knocked us out of the playoffs year after year after year.
The Eagles were our first playoff game and first playoff win way back when.
I was at that game, 1979.
Jimmy Giles.
Yeah, but Johnny, I want to ask you about this year's team. The first question I want to ask you before we get into the game, and I think I want an honest answer. Okay, and I've asked this of fans every week from the other team. Are the Bucs a hateable team? Because some teams you just hate it when they win the Super Bowl, and it's a team that you just hate. Are the Bucs a hateable team?
I'm gonna say no. And the reason I'm going to say that is, the whole thing would be like Brady, Brady being a hateable type of,
right.
But really, I really don't think he's like that anymore. He doesn't have this. He's not with Bill Belichick anymore. He's not with the, if you want to say, evil empire of New England sports. He's down, sunny Florida, and for me, I just feel, I'm not a big Brady fan. I wasn't a big Brady fan. But again, year in and year out, and what he's doing at this age, you kind of have to look at it and say, you respect him. And it's a team you respect. Yeah, you may not, when they play on Thursday, I may not like, some of these players and like that, but you respect the team.
Yeah.
They're a respectable team. You're not going to hate them. This isn't like, for me, the 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, but those Eagles Bucs, I was a younger, like a teenager. So for me, the Warren Sapps and the Simeon Rices and the, John Gruden and all those type of personalities. Keyshawn Johnson.
Can you use his name in the show? I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I'm just trying to help.
I got you. But like those guys are, I guess you could say, hate the face type of players and, get that right. But right now, I think you have to respect what they've done. You have to respect, even their coach, Bruce Arians, and, all their assistants. You just have to respect what they're doing and what they did and what they accomplished last year. And to me, I don't think they're a hateable team. I think they're a respectable team.
Okay. Now the Eagles, I think, are better than their 2-3 record. 2-3, is that correct?
2-3, yes.
Yeah. Now talk to me about your impressions of your team this season. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses?
So a new coaching staff, basically a rookie coaching staff, if you want to look across the board and see all the youth that they have at all the coordinator positions and everything like that. But I like Jalen Hurts. I was an advocate last year when he was, coming. I really liked his game, and I'm more of the optimist in our podcast and our sports network and everything. But I like what he brings. He brings a different dimension to the offense. And they have some players in Devontae Smith and the youth that they have. And it's just basically growing this year. This year is a developmental year. And we knew that coming in. You get rid of your head coach and Doug Peterson and Jim Schwartz, your defensive coordinator, and you basically revamp the team. And you basically are rebuilding. But you're not saying rebuilding. You're trying to retool the team because you still have some veterans on that roster and everything there. The defense side of the ball, they took a step, up last week. But again, you're playing Sam Darnold. You're going up against a Tom Brady-led team. So a lot of focus is going to be on the defense. But again, it's funny. The defense struggles and the offense plays pretty well, move the ball up and down the field. Last week, the defense does great, and the offense struggles to get up and down the field, to get up the field. So it's the mindset with Philly and everything, of course, is after 3 games, get rid of everybody, because they don't understand that, some of these fans don't understand. I understand it's what have you done for me lately? Right. But again, you have to understand this is a rookie team, and I think they are a little bit better. Of course, being the optimist, I had them, winning a good amount of games, but that was because looking at the end of their schedule, it's very light in terms of the teams. But for me, I think they are a better team, but a problem is when you're shooting yourself in the foot week in and week out with penalties, and 5 touchdowns have been taken away because of penalties and stupid penalties. And that's a reason you're 2-3 and you're not 3-2 or, 4-1 or something like that.
Right.
You're shooting yourself in the foot, and especially when you're playing good teams, you're not going to go very far. But for me, I think they are better, a little bit better than their record states. I think they can compete with some of the tougher teams in the league. But again, what team is going to show up? And that's what we're waiting to see.
Okay, so you feel like there's a little bit of inconsistency there.
Yeah, there's a lot of inconsistency.
Okay. Tell me about your line, your D line, your O line. I mean, so good, bad, what are we looking at?
So the defensive line, I think, is the strength of the team. Yeah, you lose Brandon Graham, who is your top guy, run stopper, can get pressure on the quarterback. But again, you still have a guy like Javon Hargrave, who has 6 sacks already. He's so disruptive in the interior of that line. And Fletcher Cox is still, he's still a very potent player in the middle of that defense. And, Derek Barnett and Josh Sweat, getting pressure off the edge. But I think it helps them with being able to have those guys in the middle with Cox and Hargrave to put pressure up the middle, especially this game at Brady. I know Brady struggles with the pressure up the middle. It's one thing that, he gets uncomfortable with.
Right.
But looking at the offensive line, now that's a different story because there's a lot of injuries. Your left tackle is now basically your right tackle because Lane Johnson's out with a personal matter, which we aren't sure what it is. And, we've stated on our show, basically, to me, if it's something like mental or something like that, get better. If it's, an addiction thing, I don't know what it is, but it's just take care of yourself off the field. Football's secondary than your personal health. So it's just get better there. You lose your left guard, Sayamalu. He's out for the year with a Liz Frank. So they don't have him. Brandon Brooks basically is hurt every single year. He's also out. So you're shuffling a little bit. Andre Dillard, who was your first-round draft pick back in 2019,
right,
missed all of last year, but he is now your left tackle with Mailata on the right side. And then you have your second-round draft pick, Landon Dickerson at left guard. Of course, Kelsey's your mainstay. He doesn't miss any games as your center. And then your right guard is right now they have Jack Driscoll, which kind of scares me going up against the interior of the Bucs. But it's held up pretty well. But again, you can't really afford any more injuries.
Right. What about Jalen Hurts? I mean, what are your thoughts? What you've had a little bit of time to really watch, to get a good look at him.
I like what I see. He's progressing. And if people tell you that he hasn't progressed since he came in last year for Carson Wentz, they're lying to you because the eyes can see what he's doing on the field, and he is progressing. He's not an elite quarterback. He's only started 8 games. So to say that, he's some elite player, look at all the rookie quarterbacks who came in this year. What are they really doing right now? You need some time. Look at a player like Josh Allen, not saying he's going to be of that caliber, but you have to give the guy some time to be able to grow with this offense, which is a young offense. They have young players, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor, they're young players on this team. So, give the kids some time, time. And the funny thing is, he's running the ball as well as probably as good as a quarterback the Eagles had would not McNabb, would be Randall Cunningham.
Right.
That's a strong statement.
And it shows in, I think they said he's the only quarterback to have multiple, touchdown rushing games since Randall Cunningham. No other quarterbacks had more than, I think, 2. And him and Randall has had 3, and Jalen Hurts has had 2.
I have a question on how would you assess Devontae Smith? He's leading your team in targets, receptions, and yards. He's only played 5 games. How would you assess him up to this point? And then, more importantly, what do you think his career trajectory is going to be when all is said and done?
So watching him on the field, he gets the separation. You watched him at Alabama, and you saw the type of route running and what he can do with the ball not even in his hands, and how he can get separation. And then I know the Eagles are one of the highest teams with the yard after catch, them and the Bucs. And Devontae Smith is a big part of it. He's able to, not really spread defense. He doesn't win you with his speed, but he knows how to get open. And he's had 2 touchdowns taken away from him because of penalties. But you look at what he's done. He's doing something that they haven't had since they had Deshaun Jackson in terms of production as a rookie. I don't think there's been a rookie receiver that the Eagles have had that's had over 1,000 yards. And he's right now on pace to have over 1,000 yards. Deshaun had almost 900, and Jordan Matthews had over 900. But he's doing something an Eagles rookie receiver has not done. And I feel that the Eagles were able to come away with trading up and getting him. And, the Dolphins are a team that they also got their first round pick as well for next year. And they did a swap with the Miami to then swap with the Cowboys to get Devontae Smith. So I think his career trajectory is a wide receiver number 1 the Eagles haven't had since they had Deshaun Jackson. Right. And Deshaun Jackson was not really a real wide receiver 1. He was more that deep threat type of player. He wasn't consistently. I mean,
how do you guys feel about Carson Wentz? I mean, are you glad he's gone? Is he? I mean, do you still wish he was there? That's got to be that you talk about a mixed bag.
So we talk about this on our podcast, and we try not to mention the name. I guess you can go.
We know that. One of those guys in our history.
Yeah, but I'm not on our podcast, so I can mention the name. So my feelings, and we've talked about this on our show, is you can't have Carson Wentz and say you won a Super Bowl, because he was such a big part of that 2017 season. And to say, well, Nick Foles won it. Okay, but they wouldn't have home field advantage if they didn't have Carson Wentz in the way he played. So you have to give him that. But I just think that the knee injury and everything that happened the following year, maybe coming back too soon, I just think a lot of it just messed. I don't know if it was with his head or he just didn't look right. And he, watching the game last night, he kind of looked a little bit like the player you thought you were going to see for years at
least for 3 quarters.
Yeah. He did fumble like he usually did, and they wind up losing the game. And okay, but it sucks because you traded all those assets for him. Again, you did get a Super Bowl, so you can't say you didn't get anything out of it. But again, that's why I always jump on people that say, well, the Eagles need to draft a quarterback next year because Jalen Hurts isn't the answer, and you need to do that. But again, you're going to draft another quarterback to see what you're going to have when you can just let Jalen Hurts see what you can have in the next year or two with a rookie quarterback and a rookie scale. To then have to draft someone, you mess it up, then have to draft something, which with the Bucs fans would know in terms of their quarterbacks with Josh Freeman and Jameis Winston and all these quarterbacks you're drafting, and they wind up not panning out. So unfortunately, Carson, I guess you can say Carson didn't pan out, but he helped you get to the ultimate goal that you wanted. Unfortunately, he wasn't the one to win it.
Right. Right.
A lot of people want to, blame Carson Wentz for a lot of issues. But again, I think it was a culmination of Doug Peterson, not really, the vanilla offense didn't help anybody, and it was evident. Okay. And, Carson Wentz not really progressing after all these injuries, and it was a sloppy, boring, sloppy.
Maybe it was better for everybody. It was just better for Wentz, better for the Eagles. Okay, that's fair. All right. So before we get into the into the slop, before we get into the fun, give me. I want to hear from you a little bit about your podcast and tell everybody about what you do.
So we have a show on Wednesday nights. It's the AAT Birds Weekly Report. All About the Birds is a podcast for Eagles, but we also do it under a sports media network. AAT Sports Network is basically, we do a whole bunch of shows. During the week, we do all, sports. So we have basically an all sports show. We have soccer show. We have all these different college basketball shows. So we do a lot of different things under that AAT Sports Network. But for the Eagles aspect, we have, an Eagle-centric podcast on Wednesday nights. And then we also do the post-game show and stuff like that after Eagles games. And we do a pregame live show when the Eagles are away. We go to a local bar and we do a live show from them. But, we're on Twitter at AAT Birds. We're on Facebook on the Sports Media Network. And we have, website as well, stuff like that. But we're just basically, it's a lot of it started as, Eagles, and it was started during the pandemic. And, just a couple of us that, we're just having fun, enjoying it.
Yeah.
Like every, I do graphic stuff. I, post different things on the Twitter. I post a lot of stuff on Twitter, but my other guys, Jeff and Chip, they also help out with a lot of the other behind the scenes and in front of the camera stuff as well. They do a lot, great support system basically we have,
Right.
and a great team that we have. But, I post highlights every day. Like I took, you may not like it. The last 2 days I did the Hugh Douglas sack on Sean King caused the fumble in the one playoff game. Today was
I don't remember that. Do you remember that, Rick?
I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't know.
You can scroll our page. You can see it. And then there was one with Donovan McNabb. But I do old highlights. So every week, it's Bucs week this week. So I do that.
Right.
And then every basically game day, I'll have like a little pump up video. So it'll be a culmination of basically the history of all the matchups and different highlights from each of the games, mostly Eagles related. I don't have the Rondé Barber interception in this. I'm not doing that. But mostly,
why not?
Well, no, I think that
I don't understand
I think
why.
that's a great addition right there. Just
We
my
can help
initial
improve
thought.
we can help improve your podcast.
Yeah, well, give it.
I don't really know if that's gonna. I go to sleep and I see it in my my nightmares, so I don't think I need to relive.
Well, that's good enough for me. So.
Exactly. See? But no, we're just a fun podcast that's networking, and basically what we want to do is help others grow, and that's what the aspect of podcasting should be, is helping everyone grow. And I feel that in this sports media world, you see a lot of, especially check mark people, like to put people down because they're you don't know what you're talking about. You're not in with the team. And the problem is, it's easier to kick somebody and kick them while they're down instead of actually picking them up and building them up. And I feel like that's something that a lot
Are you really from Philadelphia?
See,
I'm impressed. I'm just trying to let it soak in. I'm just letting it soak in over me. It's like, you're from Philadelphia and you're saying that? Okay, all right, that's good.
So I'm just like, I understand the, not all of us are the same. You have that collection of fans that are, a little bit rowdy. But I just feel like you should build people up no matter who they are. Now, if it's a Cowboys fan, I don't know really. I got a couple of those in my family. So and
we're all in agreement on that.
And the funny thing is, I'm like one of the only Eagles fans in my family. My family is like the Jersey area.
Okay.
And so it's a lot of Giants fans, a lot of Cowboys fans, a couple Raiders fans. So I'm a very minority in terms of my, Eagles love, because my parents and stuff moved to Pennsylvania. And then as a growing up, I became an Eagles fan. And I've been around all the rowdy fans and all the, the typical, which you would say, Philadelphia fans. And I've been all around that. But I just, like I said, we started this to grow and to help others grow as well.
Well, I've got a friendly bet I want to make with you. And let's see if you're up for this or not, if you want to do it. It's a friendly bet.
Okay.
Run while you can.
Whichever team wins, okay? Let's say you win. I have to come on your podcast or your show, and I have to eat, I got to say it, a Philly cheesesteak sandwich, wearing green, and talk good about the Eagles. If we win, you have to come back on next week, eat a Cuban sandwich, and talk about how great the Bucs are wearing red.
you know what? I'll do it. I'm not gonna. You have to do bets. You have to make them. You have to
Why
be
not?
friendly
Let-
wagers. Why not?
Let's have a little fun with it.
Exactly.
And by the way, that way, at the worst case scenario, God forbid everything goes wrong for the Bucs, I get a Philly cheesesteak.
So the other thing,
You ought to include orange juice in with the Cuban.
but he also has to have cheese whiz. You have to have whiz with it.
Okay.
It makes a difference. I've had a
I'll do
Philly
my best.
cheesesteak in
I'm
Philly.
in Charlotte. I'll do my best.
That's okay. You said I'll do my best with the I won't
with the
drink orange
Cuban.
juice.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that's like my daughter. She eats pickles and she can drink orange juice.
I saw there's pickle ice cream. So
Yeah.
There's actually a brand that has pickle ice cream out there. I saw it the other day in the store. I was like, what in the world? So give me your best trash talk. Give me what you've got that you think you can. Just let us have it.
It's kind of tough though. You guys just won the Super Bowl, so what really, that's the tough
Cowboy
part.
fans were the best at this.
Well, the Cowboys fans like to put their VCRs, get that ready, put their VCR tapes in there to watch their Super Bowl highlights.
Yeah.
Okay, we found the vein now. It's like get them to talk about Cowboys fans.
Exactly.
It's almost reel to reel. It's almost before VHS that the Eagles. That the Cowboys were good.
That's easier because I have a coworker that's basically a super Cowboys fan
Right.
that does nothing but think they're the greatest thing on earth.
Right.
And the funny thing was, the last time they won anything, he was my age, which is 25 years
Right.
ago. So it's something like that. For the Bucs, it's tough, but it's you don't have Gronk there. Your defense
he's
is
He's questionable.
Yeah.
he's questionably
He's
out.
upgraded.
He's too busy doing USAA commercials, so he's kind of not going to be playing.
You got to throw in wrestling, and
No, that was before the season. He's got this. He's doing all right. He's doing USAA commercials. All right.
Brady's saying that his thumb injury, trying to use an excuse because if he loses to the Eagles again, he has an excuse because of his thumb. Because
that's a good point.
The Eagles may, trade for Nick Foles to just put him on the bench just to kind of scare Brady because, or maybe they call Eli Manning to come out of retirement, stand on the sideline, because apparently he can't.
He's from Philadelphia. I like it.
You have Antonio Brown. We'll see what he does. Maybe he throws some gummy dicks at people, but I don't know if I could say that. But
You just did.
Well,
hey, you said trash talk. I'm trying to come up with
No,
some
you're
stuff
good.
because
You're good.
and Dominican Sue may stomp on somebody. Who knows? You got a lot of questionable players there. The defense really isn't very good, secondary wise right now. Richard Sherman, I'm really not going to go there, but he's not been playing very very well if you look at the stats. I know he's, it's the Bucs.
Man, I gotta tell you, that's the weakest trash talk. And you're from Philly, and
you better hope that the Eagles don't win because then you're really,
the Dolphins. Oh, sure. There you go. We're afraid to say it now. We're afraid to say no. Come on. Look here. Let me show you how it's done. Okay. Let me show you how it's done. Look, we shut down your precious vet and destroyed the stadium. Tom Brady has single-handedly destroyed the Atlanta Falcons franchise and now the Kansas City Chiefs franchise in 2 separate Super Bowls. Okay. Do you guys really want to play us? And you're trash talking Tom Brady because you beat him once? Okay. One game, big game. All props to you. I was actually rooting for your team that day. It's the only time ever. Okay. So yeah. All right. You won a game one time that you should be very proud of. Okay. But now let's come back to reality.
Well, props for beating the Panthers, though. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. But Jalen Hurts versus Tom Brady. I win. That's about all there is to say. If your best trash talk is let's go get a guy from the Giants who's no longer playing. If that's your best trash talk, we got this.
Oh, he is 2-0 against.
I know. Listen, I'm glad you came here, man. I'm glad you came. He's sitting here going, "Why did I come on the show?"
You do know that the Eagles are, I think, 7-0 the last 7 Thursday night games they've been on. So that's another.
Oh man, and let me tell you something. Tampa sucks in prime time. Okay, and we're really bad. We lost our last, not this year because it was the first game of the season, but going back last year on a Thursday night, we got our hat handed to us by Chicago. So it could happen. It could
play
happen.
them
I already
after you
warned the
guys.
fans. Yeah, I already warned the fans. And part of the reason I wanted to do that bet with you was at least then I get to enjoy a Philly cheesesteak.
Well, it won't be cold
With cheese whiz. You got to have
Yeah.
the cheese whiz.
Yeah, gotta have the cheese whiz.
Yeah, Johnny, thank you for coming on, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Johnny. Thanks for the insight.
Yeah, I do appreciate you coming on. Great football knowledge, great fun. Thanks for, taking a little bit of a beating and dishing one out a little bit. And I look forward to seeing you in a week, one way or the other.
Yeah, one way or the other, but always go Birds.
Yeah, get out of here. Get out of here. Get that guy out of here. Let me tell you something. No, that was fun. That was fun.
Has there been? We're up to week 6 now, and I don't recall. Has there been anyone say that the Bucs are hateable?
Yeah.
Well, I think someone said Tom Brady was hateable just on principle.
Third week.
But,
The Rams guy.
the Rams.
The
Okay.
Rams guy said the Bucs are hateable. That was it.
Okay.
But yeah, everybody else said no. Yeah, which I think is I like that. I like talking about that. But one thing, I don't know if Matt Colson, if you're out there and able to listen, if you're willing to come on, I would like to have you come on. I would very much appreciate it right now. Matt, if you are out there, please let me put the link out in chat. And Matt, if you could make it in here, I would appreciate it. I have something I want to talk about regarding, I want you to come in if you have a moment. All right. I just sent the link, Matt. It's in chat. Anyway, guys, and I will get back to this. I want to get back to this. Dave, I'm going to go ahead and have you go back to the lobby. Matt's going to be coming in here in a second. But before I bring Matt in here, if you would do me a favor, tell everybody where they can find you online. What are your social media handles?
On Twitter and Facebook, David W. Says. And I've already gotten my Thursday night David W. Says, or Thursday morning.
Yes.
David W. Says spiel for the week.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Dave, during the post-game show, we have a little segment called David W. Says, where basically Dave takes over for a few minutes and brings
Make it sound like a coup.
By the way, I've got to give you some props because after the game Sunday night, and you had this prepared before the game even started on Sunday, you said that the Bucs fans need to be rooting for Jacksonville because they may have interest in Byron Leftwich as coach. Now everybody out there is coming out with articles saying the same thing you brought out during the post game show. So yeah, you were the first person to bring that to my attention. So thank you for that. That's the segment David W. Says, and it's on the post game show. I appreciate the fact that you did that.
I'm glad to. Trying to keep an ear to the ground for the things that are a little bit out of the mainstream that eventually become mainstream. So yeah. Glad that one worked out.
No pressure.
And I hope the Jags do well.
Yeah, no pressure this week.
Turn it around, right? Please.
Yeah.
So.
No pressure or anything.
Yeah.
But
and look good, but I mean they got to revert to the average at some point. 20 in a row, they're getting. Yeah, they might eclipse they may have their own record before long.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. By the way, did you see the game the other night? Last night, did you happen to see the Monday night game?
I saw the end of it. I'm still pretty bummed about the Rays. I was looking forward to more baseball with the Rays, and that came to a crashing halt. Though they were down 5-0 early and came back. So I was focused more on that, but I did see the end of the game. And it was just an amazing finish that the Ravens had. It's historic. And of course it was on prime time. So it'll be one of those that they'll flash back to a number of times.
Yep.
It was fantastic.
Yep. Well, thanks a lot, Dave. I'm going to bring someone else in here now. If you want to Maybe I'll be able to get back to you. Not sure.
Sounds good.
All right.
If not, I'll see you Thursday night and Friday morning, I should say.
Exactly. Exactly. See you then, Dave. All right, let's bring Matt Colson in here. Matt,
smoking gun.
The smoky atmosphere, setting the scene, all of that. So I want to say this, and Matt, I wanted you in here for this. I will say simply, someone in the on the Buccaneers staff brought up an idea that I think was pretty close to brilliant. And I wish we could have. Oh, we just lost Matt.
No, I'll be back.
Okay.
I'm here. Just a second.
Okay. Well, let me say this, guys. Somebody brought up let's call it. Okay, there he is. He's back. Brought up a great idea, and unfortunately, I was unable to pull it off in time, get this whole thing together. But they suggested having a little game where we took quotes from John Gruden, George Jefferson, Archie Bunker, and Fred Sanford, and you had to try to pick out which one said it. And it was actually a very, very good idea. But I couldn't get the graphics together and everything in time. And the thing is this, guys, I think the fact that John Gruden was saying things that you would mix up with that from back then is telling. And I think that says enough about the stuff John Gruden said. I think, the fact that Gruden had said, Gruden said things that sounded almost exactly like things you would see Archie Bunker saying back on All in the Family. It says enough. And Matt, what's your recollection of those days and those times and things that were said versus now?
Well, all of those shows that you just mentioned were all put together by Norman Lear. He was the producer and they were all spin-offs of the same All in the Family. Spun off the Jeffersons and spun off the Sanford Son. At that time period, I'm 57 years old. At that time period, when you turned on Johnny Carson at night, the guy that was a comedian coming in would always tell jokes about, pardon the language here, I don't want to get canceled, but they'd use a dago, wop, dot, 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 standard Jackie Mason kind of stand-up comedy that was acceptable. Johnny was laughing, the people are laughing, and people are tuning in from all over the country, not offended. They were able to laugh at themselves. And Norman Lear's productions with Archie Bunker and with Jeffersons and all that, he did that same kind of comedy. He made it hurt so that you laugh to get an understanding.
There was a point behind it, right?
Right. And he had the famous son-in-law Archie did that was a meathead, dead from the head up, dead from the head up. But there was also an awful lot. Archie Bunker did a bit where he went to the hospital and needed a blood transfusion. This won the TV awards, whatever they call them, Grammys or something. Emmy. So the punchline in the whole thing was he got a blood transfusion and he was thankful he lived. And Edith brought in the guy that the blood came from, and it was Sammy Davis Jr. And Archie and all his bigotry couldn't handle it. He was like, no.
Right.
But we laughed at that. Today, if you pulled that off on a TV show, the show wouldn't get produced.
Right.
And there was Archie didn't care if you were, what race you were, what your LBGT classification was. That was fair game. All of that stuff was something you'd get in the show, and in the context of the conversations, it was hilarious, but you knew back in the back of your head, that's just not right. And that's how we operated as a society for the first 30 years of my life.
And it's not necessarily that we have not improved when it comes to some of that. Okay. I mean, there are things that were said and attitudes and things that were wrong back then that we've become more enlightened about, and we've grown as a society and things have changed.
And that's true going all the way back to the 30s and 40s. I mean, what they thought was funny on radio shows with Amos and Andy.
And obviously prior to that,
at all.
Yeah.
Right. And so the society has changed and progressed and gone forward. John Gruden got fired for something he did a decade ago that he may probably still do,
Well,
but he may not.
Hold on.
Because the
Those emails were over a 7-year period.
Oh, I thought it was from 10 to 7 years ago.
No, it was.
I thought that's how I took it.
What I heard is it was over a 7-year period.
And he was the Monday Night Football guy that whole time.
Right.
So
And that's sort of the point that was brought up to me in our pre-show meeting. Was it was brought up that ESPN is railing on this guy and destroying this guy, and that's where he was. That's who he was working for when a lot of this stuff was said.
yeah, and you remember when he was with Monday Night Football, he was the highest paid ESPN employee there was.
Are they pulling down those broadcasts from ESPN and ABC or whatever? Are they pulling that stuff down to where you can no longer get that, or are they still going to profit on it? It's a good question.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You brought up that photograph of the statue that's in the lobby at $1 Place.
Yep.
Didn't even occur to me. You got to pull off a piece. It's like pulling down John. What was the guy from Penn State? The Papa.
Yeah.
The dude,
Joe Paterno.
Joe Paterno. He got canceled, right?
Yeah.
And it just coming from the South. I grew up in the Deep South, and over the last 2-3 years, they've been doing an awful lot of history revision, that tearing down monuments and statues and whatever.
Well,
now
is that
offensive.
what they're going to do with the Bucs? And I mean, is that?
Well, that's
I mean,
what that's where I was leading to. Where do you stop?
I don't know the answer to that. It's a fair question, but by the same token, you also tell me you weren't one of the people cheering when they pulled down the Saddam Hussein statues, over in.
Well, that was a war, Rick.
No, I get that, but that was but that wasn't a war. It wasn't us pulling them down. Okay, it was their people pulling them down. Okay, after the war. All right, so no, that's not true. It was not during the war. That was actually after the war. Their people pulled them down. And the thing is, it's because people are saying, let's get rid of this. This is no longer us. Let's not celebrate this anymore. So there's truth and understanding in that. And you can't throw a blanket statement out and say it's bad. Leave all the statues up, no matter what they celebrate or represent, as you grow and become, more enlightened as a society. But you also can't rewrite history and pretend it didn't exist, because that's also equally wrong. Okay, so
exactly.
There's a balance to it that we have to strike. Now, let me bring in here. I still want out of Green Bay. Let me bring him in. How you doing?
Well, first of all, I just want to point out that I didn't say anything when Muppet Mahomes basically took my State Farm gig. I didn't say anything when Subway didn't put me on that BS commercial with Brady. But here's what I will say. I still went out of Green Bay. I don't like the fact that the coach is younger than me. Isn't he younger than me? He looks like he's younger than me. Look at me. I look like an extra from The Sopranos.
Yeah.
But here's what I'll say. Point, counterpoint, and not really for debate, more for like information purposes or just maybe realizations to some people. The cancel culture, it is what it is. It's going to happen. Don't think it didn't happen. Every time an Egyptian emperor, the throne was changed, they literally erased the history that was previous to them to the best of their ability. It's just part of life. Doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean I care either way. I'll say this, removing a statue that's offensive to somebody because of history, the history is still there. And all these statues have been removed and not one person's life has literally been affected by it. That said,
Correct.
What John Gruden said 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 20 years ago isn't freaking cool. Okay? I think that's the larger picture we're missing here. And like I've told some of the guys here off the air, no matter what side you come down on this discussion, the other half hates you, doesn't want to hear you, just hates you.
Right.
So the way I look at it is look, people, when you come to the realization that not just the NFL, but all the sports, but the NFL is a registered nonprofit organization, okay? and is signing billion-dollar deals. Its sole source of revenue is advertising. Advertising is controlled by corporate conglomerates. Corporate conglomerates control not only what we do or don't get to see on TV, meaning canceled or not canceled. Okay, I'll put it this way. Do we have any video from anywhere in the world of people protesting against John Gruden? No. The corporations made that call and put the heat that led to the investigation into the Washington team, which led to the evidence about Gruden and all that. My point, and I think Rick touched on it perfectly, is the NFL, look, we appreciate you trying to do the good thing, but doing the good thing means you don't just help one grandma across the street, you help them all.
Right.
And in this case, you don't just say that's wrong about one guy. Like Rick said, look, I love the artists that they have coming on the Super Bowl halftime show. I also know that back in the day, I believe it was a Tuesday, they had some lyrics that would now get them canceled, or I guess maybe not signed or not played on the radio. Hell, they couldn't play those lyrics on the radio back then.
Right.
I guess the point I'm trying to say is look, everybody is upset either one way or the other. If you go to a Bucs game this season and the word Gruden isn't written up there, it's not going to change your experience a bit.
Exactly.
Okay. If Rick Bisaccia comes in and the Raiders go 9-8 or 8-9 because they're the Raiders, nothing's changed. I mean, what I want to point out, and not to divert the whole conversation, but I do got to touch on this. How in the living AF, see what I did there? Do we find the only freaking Philly guy that is not a trash talker? How did that, dude? Hey, Philly guy, we love you, bro. But next time, I don't know, talk about like Warren Sapp's fat stomach.
I know. He was. I was a little disappointed. I'll just leave it there.
I'll say this. Wait a minute. So one of the coaches that won a Super Bowl for the organization we're asking you to trash talk is John Gruden. You ain't got nothing. Nothing.
It was
nothing.
Teed up. They literally teed up.
We were ready to throw batteries at you, bro.
Teed up to the perfect opportunity, and he just.
I'll say this, and for the fans who are surprised that the Buccaneers made this radical decision, or the fans like Rick pointed out that are like, wait a minute, you're doing this now but not there. There's lots of cases where there's hypocrisy here. Example, the Buccaneers knew about Michael Pittman's legal issues before they signed him. Same with tight end Jeremy Stevens. This is going back a little ways, but the people who know exactly what I'm talking about.
But the thing is this, I don't think this is only about advertising dollars. I think it's primarily not about, red, yellow, black, and white. I think it's primarily about green. However, I think this, when the information came out about what he said about Goodell, the NFL did what it does. And then when the information came out about what he said about Brian Glazer would give him a BJ, all of a sudden we're pulling him out of the Ring of Honor.
See, when you say BJ, I'm so old. I think of the TV show BJ and the Bear.
But now, I mean, the thing is, if that's what you think about, I'm sorry, but
I do, but not with a Glazer named Brian attached to it. I think that's okay, but I'm not into it. I just want out of Green Bay.
When they pulled, the fact that the two organizations, he actually took shots at the leadership and ownership, basically. I mean, the head of the NFL and the head of the Bucs, and both of those organizations.
And the head of the Players Union.
Right. Yes. And all of them did what they did. And he got himself, he got canceled. I think a huge part of it is because of that. And if you don't believe me, that's why people like Warren Sapp are still going to be up in the Ring of Honor, despite the things he has said and done.
And to really throw some people's heads into a tizzy, sorry, Rick, it's weird how the pendulum swings. Because the same people, or not the same people, but a good portion of the people that are crying Gruden's a victim of cancel culture were totally cool with what that went down with Colin Kaepernick, bro. So, miss me. That's what Rick is trying to say by this whole show. Dude, you can see both sides, and you can see it for what it is, but it is what it is, dude.
Yeah,
And
step back and look at things honestly. Don't just see your side. And when information comes in, I I always believe this. Whatever your stance is on something, if you spend most of your time in your head challenging your own stance, not finding a way to defend your own stance, but find ways to challenge your way of thinking, to improve your way of thinking, not to sit there and collect ways to defend your way of thinking, but to find ways maybe you're wrong, you're going to end up being way better off. So that is my honest opinion, and I wish more people would spend their time doing that. And I wish you would spend more time finding out how you're wrong about things instead of trying to prove you're right. And you'll become better. You'll find that there's right and wrong in a lot of different positions. And stop, this is what drives me crazy about people that chest thump and beat that, they beat their chest about a particular side on an issue, is they don't want to see the other side. They don't want to look at it and see, what, if there's another side, and I believe this wholeheartedly, if there's another side arguing a point, they probably have their finger on some truth. Okay, how do I incorporate that truth into my thinking? Rarely do you have a large group of people. Rarely, I didn't say always. Okay, rarely do you have a large group of people that will adopt a position and they're all completely wrong.
Well, yeah, and again, back to Chucky, to Gruden. Okay, yeah. It's not far fetched to think he has an anger problem. He's literally known for making angry faces. Yeah. Okay, and you don't use the word that he called the homosexual guy the F word, the F, and there's G's and T's in there.
Yeah,
that word has never been used in a positive reinforcement manner. Yeah, it's always been used as an insult. So. Yeah. You would have to imagine stringing the fact that every picture of John Gruden ever, he's angry or looks like he got kicked in the dick, in the Jimmy. I'm sorry, and the fact that that one word was definitely with intent. Then there was intent to disparage. The other side of that is John Gruden has every right in the world, like all of us, to have a private conversation, remain private. Yeah. Here's what I want to inform people. Private conversations like we remember, the older people like myself, Rick, and Matt here, they were had in person. That's what a private conversation is. If it's digitally, you're not private, bro.
It's in writing.
Can't be. Yeah, if it's on a digital format like this, this is never going away completely.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So
I'm actually gonna even draw a funny parallel with you about this. This is a little bit of an odd parallel, but I spent 30 years as a photographer and I worked with models and all of this. And one of the things I would tell every girl is when they were first starting out modeling, I would tell them, draw your line now on what you're okay with and not okay with, and don't move that line even when you feel like it. Okay, draw your line now on what's okay for you to shoot and not okay to shoot. But understand, if you ever cross that line, whatever pictures you take, and at any time, whatever pictures you take, you'd better be ready to go public. And if you knew how many people would come back to me years later, I had a girl, this factually happened. I produced a TV series and it was on television, it aired. And a girl came back to me later and said that she'd gotten a job and she'd gotten married and blah, blah, blah. And she asked me to go back and edit her out of the footage of that TV series.
How are you going to do that?
You can't unring a bell. Okay? You can't unring a bell. First of all, no, I'm not going to go back and try and edit you out of footage on a show that it's nothing to do with me now. But second of all, you did that. You got all the advantages from that. You did everything when it was good. When it was good for you, you were fine with it. It's not good now, so everybody needs to act.
Can I just say that to tie into your bell reference, you can't unring that bell. Dude, unring a bell is one thing, right? Gruden was that dude with the whole table of bells doing a song, picking up each individual bell. He's like, ring a ding, 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 ding. They're all covered.
That's actually a fantastic parallel. You can't unring a bell. He's one of the, he's got all of them in front of him and he's just picking them all up and ringing them. Yeah.
And that said, go ahead, Matt.
Here's the gay one. Ring. Okay, we got race over here. All right. Religion. Where? Here it is. Ring. I mean,
my question is, what's the gong?
Oh no.
What's that, Matt?
I I don't understand how a man in his position, who's been around the block so much, would think that a corporate server is the right place to put things.
Well, that's the thing,
especially
Matt,
when you're working for Disney, not ESPN. He was a Disney guy. He was a Mickey Mouse Club player for $10 million a year.
The thing is this, Matt, he felt untouchable. I mean, he was that big of a deal. He was that phenomenal. If you remember, he was considered basically the best Monday night guy, like basically since Cosell. Okay. Yeah. He was the man and he probably felt untouchable and he was untouchable, but he's no longer there anymore. So he kind of left himself exposed. And
but the one thing about this whole thing that bothers me, I'm not going to condone what he said at all. I mean, the stuff that I read when I was trying to put something together for this afternoon, everything that I read that he wrote, I was just in shock. I couldn't believe it. I teach my kids that you go to church, you speak with one vocabulary. And then when you go from your church buddies out to a picnic somewhere on a barge fishing overnight, that vocabulary expands. But you don't use the barge vocabulary in the church. And they got the idea. Now, what Dude was saying, and I think you said it too, back in our day, you rarely wrote anything down. You were talking with three guys around a table somewhere with a quart and whatever you're doing.
Right.
Today, everything from text that I'm getting Facebook has barred me from using certain terms because they're proper, but not according to them. And it just blows my mind. I get these little stamps all the time. You can't say that. And I don't see anything wrong with what I'm putting down there. Right. I think they're doing some kind of creative editing. But when does it stop? When does it get to the point where it was John Gruden, then Tony Dungy got hooked up in this today? When does this all go around the circle?
Matt, we're the old guys. Now stop for a second and think back. Like my grandparents were wonderful people. I had amazing, wonderful grandparents. All right. I'm blessed beyond measure with my grandparents. I remember my grandparents telling me not to be racist. I remember the conversations that I had with them. I remember hearing that stuff, but I also remember my grandparents saying some things that
were completely contradictory to what they're telling
correct, that were not okay to say and are not okay to think. Okay. But that was them then. Okay. What John Gruden did, and here's my point with Gruden, what John Gruden did, that was bad when he said it. Okay. It was already bad. All right. But let me say, we're the old guys. All right. We're the grandparents who think, you're talking about, I put this stuff and I don't know what's the matter with these people and these kids with their Facebook and their, dude, we're the old people. Right. Mm-hmm. But what is a fact? And this I think has gotten lost. And this is, I believe this wholeheartedly. And this to me is a takeaway here that I want everybody, if there's one thing everybody could take away from this show, it's this saying. I brought it up earlier, and I want everybody to really think about this saying. Punishment is easier than persuasion. Rather than help someone change their mind or become enlightened, make them hurt.
Well, they're certainly
that's
doing
what
that.
Everybody does, right? This guy said something stupid. Take away his job. This guy said something stupid. Make him hurt. Make him pay money. And that's where the problem comes in is I think, Like I laugh when I look back and think of what's the owner, the guy, he passed away. He owned Chick-fil-A, Truett Cathy. All right. Truett Cathy's like at this, he's
A manly
right
name,
died. I think
if
he
I
was
ever
like
heard one.
What's that?
The manliest name that I've ever heard.
Yeah. Truett Cathy was like
See, now that's going to get
143
us in
years
trouble.
old. He was like 143-year-old Southern Baptist. Okay. He was and the fact that the guy said some things like the Duck Dynasty guys said some things that were inappropriate. Really? Of course they did. Okay? Of course they did. And you know what? Rather than punish them, make them pay. You're not enlightening anybody. You're not moving things forward. You're literally forcing greater division. Even if they come out and publicly say, I'm sorry, you're forcing greater division by punishing. Make them pay.
But the other side of that is, you know how we said to people, we shouldn't be surprised that these people of this age or this whatever say these things, right?
Yeah.
Well, we shouldn't be so surprised that when we consider something wrong that we attach an actual punishment to it. I mean, when you were a kid, if you got punished, you got sent to your room, or a toy taken away, or the TV rights, or your bicycle, or your car, or whatever the case may be. The stakes are just higher. That said, I don't know how you can retroactively. And Rick and I have talked about this a lot. There are certain words, none of which we're talking about in John Gruden's case. So now we're talking about the bigger cancel culture buzz thing.
Right.
There are certain words that get you canceled now that 4 years ago were on primetime TV.
Yeah, they were okay. They were perfectly acceptable.
So it's a fluid thing, right? We get that.
Right.
But I don't think you can. I don't want to say there's a statute limitation on hate, because that's what he was saying, some hateful comments. But at what point? I mean, you take away if you blackball him, quote unquote, or theoretically, he never gets a job again. Is ruining one man's life going to be the example that you want to set as you should listen to what I say about what's morally right, and if you don't, I will kill you. So that's the problem. Gone are the days where all these things were either thought or said in the privacy of your home or amongst a very minute people. That said, they're wrong, but now everybody in the world, dude, I can talk to someone, and I talked to someone in Sierra Leone the other day. They don't even have power, and he was on Facebook. Figure that one out. But anyway, the point being is we're all connected. So now more thoughts are coming out. So I think what it is there's just some people, demographic wise, age wise, that are, like you said, are us, Rick, the old guys, that we don't get why that's not good anymore. Or we are having trouble adjusting the vernacular and how we speak of things because we've always used those words before. Not an excuse. That's the reality. The punishment, it's harsh, dude. It's harsh. I mean, I'm not going to feel sorry for a guy with $100 million. I'm just not. But I would hate to think that, for example, you don't think Tom Brady has ever said anything wrong from like middle school up. If that came back, would he be canceled the same way with the same ferocity? I don't know. I think you're muted, Rick.
Okay, that's exactly my point. Is I promise you, everybody listening to this show right now, every single person listening to this show right now has said something in their life that if it was brought out publicly, you would be punished for it. Not persuaded, punished. Something that you don't even believe, something you don't even think. At some point, you said something stupid. You got mad. You said something stupid that you don't even believe. Every freaking person has said something. All right. And you may have a great heart. You may be a giving person. You may be charitable. You may be, take care of widows and orphans. You may be all of these things. This may be what you do. Okay. But at some point, you got mad. You said something stupid, or you cracked a joke. that was entirely inappropriate and the joke didn't go over right. Who has not cracked a joke and then gone, ooh, that didn't
work.
that didn't work. That's not what I meant. Right.
And that's when
Everybody's done it. We're all just people. We're all just people. I don't hate John Gruden. I hate what he said. I don't hate the man. And that's where things need to change. That's where the adjustment needs to happen. And the people who are going after John Gruden, I don't hate them either. That doesn't do any good.
Who's John Gruden's biggest fan right now?
Actually,
Gruden.
Urban Meyer is John Gruden's.
I mean, literally,
fan.
Urban Meyer grinded on a girl, gets caught cheating on his wife, and on video, no doubt. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
And John Gruden's like, hey, why don't you hold my beer?
Yeah.
The Corona beer that I'm sponsored by for a couple more minutes before these emails come out.
Yep.
You know, it's dude. Skechers dropped him already.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well,
no,
they
I know.
took away the one thing that they took away the one thing that's going to cost him the most pain, and that's the fact that he can't be around pro football. So he might be worth $100 million, but it's kind of like that one of those fairy tales where you got everything you want, but you're miserable.
Well,
and
I don't know that he'll be miserable. I don't. I mean,
who's going to touch him, Rick?
No,
They didn't.
but I don't know that he's
XFL?
automatically going to be miserable just because he's not involved in pro football.
He's going to go down to the Keys.
Part of his life.
Yeah,
Sure,
he's
it is
going to
now, but
he's going to go down to the Keys and smoke weed with Jimmy Johnson and talk about Super Bowls, bro.
Exactly. You got $100 million. You'll find a way to probably.
Hey, if I had $100 million, I wouldn't know what social media was. I'd be like, hey, y'all, peace.
Out. Yeah, that's what I would do.
And I want to point out, I'm still in Green Bay. Okay. I haven't shoved my fingers in the butts of young girls. I haven't grinded a go-go on anybody.
That'll come out at some point, I'm sure.
All right. I've had sex with Danica Patrick. Okay. You're welcome.
Allegedly.
And I just, you know, I don't do emails. I love the commissioner. Please let me out of Green Bay, man. Please.
Hey, man. Thanks for coming by. Let me say goodbye to both of you. Let me go ahead and wrap this thing up and say,
all right, then.
Yeah, this has been a good night, guys. I appreciate both of you guys coming on here and not chickening out and coming on. So thanks, dude. Dude, will we see you tomorrow night? I'm going to be on a show tomorrow night called Against the Spread. Andrew Faubert and I are going to talk about all the spread, point spread, all the odds and ends that you can think of regarding NFL football this week and last week, and we'll talk about all of that.
That's if they don't cancel the word spread between now and then.
Yes, if I'm not canceled for anything I said tonight. Have a good night, dude.
Merry Christmas.
Matt, tell everybody where to find you, brother.
Saturday nights, 9:00 Eastern. You got the Miscreant Mayhem, myself, Teresa Baxter, and Stephen Glasker, if he's done traveling. We'll all be there to talk about everything Buck related. It'll be 2 days after the game, 3 days. And you might still want to have a little bit more to discuss with Philly. Hopefully blow them out. But it'll be a good time. You can join in the conversation. Just get online with the link we send out, and we'll talk to you, and you can join the panel. So that's Saturday night at 9:00, Miscreant Mayhem, right here on Bucs.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt.
All right.
All right. So, all right, guys. Thank you all for coming and being a part of the shenanigans we had here tonight. There was a lot to cover, guys, I think the Philly game is going to be fun this week. I think it might be rough. I think everybody needs to be prepared. This could go either way. Just understand it's a Thursday night game. Don't freak out if it's tough. Listen, if the Bucs win by a lot on Thursday night, that's a really good sign, because a struggle wouldn't be out of the question. It's very hard to travel on Thursday and have a Thursday night game. When you're on the road on a Thursday game, it's brutal. Very, very tough. Again, I'm not real happy about the fact that they're looking at playing Gronk. I wish they would not. I wish they'd let the people go ahead and heal, no matter how that impacts the game. Johnny Dean actually I think Johnny may be coming on later tonight. I'm not sure. But if he is, great. He always has a great show, and I think he'll talk about Thursday nights. I don't know whether he's coming on or not. But guys, I appreciate you guys being here. Every freaking one of you who made comments. I do. Tapazio, Andy, Michael Belt, all of you guys, Alex Loosemore, so many of you. And I couldn't get to the comments tonight. Johnny Dean, because we were really digging into some issues here that having honestly an honest conversation, the thing everybody says that we need to have. Well, let's have a bunch of us get on here and talk honestly. George Rotvik, Hans Gruber, Buck What You Heard, all of you guys, Brandon, you guys were all fantastic tonight. Barry, David McGraw, Pat Riley, Fred Swayze, all of you. Tim Weatherspoon always brings it big time. Bobby Murphy, Joyce Rivera. Gosh, there were so many of you. Adrian's Adventures. We had a great night, guys. Thanks for all the fun. It was a good show. There's so much more to talk about regarding this. And you got all week. Lots of shows here on Bucs Report, and I'm sure some of them will bring it up. But guys, we are only 2 days away from game day. 2 days away. I will be here tonight on this show, tomorrow night on Against the Spread, and Thursday night on the post-game show. So it's going to be a busy week for me. But you guys have been awesome. Thank you for being here. Please take away the one thing that I want you to think about, at least consider when you form your opinions about all of this regarding John Gruden. Punishment is easier than persuasion. That means for everybody, whether you're on one side or the other, stop trying to automatically punish the other side. Have a little bit of compassion for the other side. Start to try to figure out what they're thinking and where they're coming from, and be a little bit open-minded toward, even if they're wrong, be a little open-minded to them as people. Thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate all of you in a very, very big way. You're all awesome. You're all friends, and I appreciate you more than you know. Please hit the like button. Please hit the share button. Please get the word out about this show. That makes all the difference to us. In the meantime, have a great night, guys, and I'll see you all tomorrow night at 9:00 on Against the Spread. Go Bucs! Go Bucs! Go Bucs!